Hello everybody, my name is Rez, and today I'm going over Mythic Plus Halls of Valor and giving you some tips and tricks for it. We're going to start with the hardest first pull in the dungeon here, which is the Storm Drake, 2 Thunder Callers, and 2 Champions. You want to make sure you're stunning the Champions and the Thunder Callers and facing the Drake away from the group. The Thunder Callers do an ability that's just a Thunderbolt. It targets a random player and deals a heavy amount of damage. You want to make sure that gets interrupted or stunned off. And he also does like a focus thunder or something. It's a thunder circle around you. You want to move that out because when it gets off, it stuns everybody in it. And then we're going to go straight to Heimdall. Heimdall does a couple abilities throughout the fight that are actually pretty easy to deal with. The first one he does here is Dancing Blade. It targets a random player, throws a little spinny sword on the ground, move out of it. Next he does Horn of Valor. It deals heavy damage to the entire group and summons Storm Drakes. Make sure that if you need to, use a defensive for Horn of Valor, and if you're a healer, be ready to use your cooldowns to heal everybody back up. The lightning is going through the middle there, so we're going to wait and then move there, and avoiding the tornadoes while we're doing it. The tornadoes do heavy damage, and if you're hit by that initial hit of lightning, you're probably going to die. Next, he does Bloodletting Sweep, which is a cleave in front of him. It deals heavy physical damage and also puts a bleed on you. More Dancing Blades are coming out here. And a Horn of Valor is going to come up soon. Again, use a defensive. If you're a healer, get ready to top everybody off. It's a lot of damage. On Tyrannical, it is a stupid amount of damage. So the Storm Drake we saw there is going into the back first. So we're going to stay right where we are, let the Storm Drake go through, and then we're going to move to the back, avoiding tornadoes while we're doing it. You have to get the boss to 10% health to end the fight. And there you go. Next, we're going to do this pack at the bottom of the stairs. You want to make sure you have watched that Sentinel and don't pull him. So we're going to pull this group and then bring them about halfway up the stairs. The reason you do this is you don't pull the Sentinel on the bottom, and you also don't pull the pack on the top of the stairs. In this group, you have a Rune Carver, a Mystic, and a Champion. You want to focus down the Mystic first and interrupt them, then the Rune Carver, then the Champion. Alright, this group might seem a little intimidating at first because there is so many, but it's not that bad. You have Mystics, Rune Carvers, Thunder Callers, and Champions. You want to focus down the Mystics, then the Mystics, Thunder Callers, Rune Carvers, Champions. The Mystics do 2 abilities, Rune of Healing and Holy Radiance. Both can be interrupted, and actually all these mobs have interruptible abilities. You want to keep them stunned. Holy Radiance heals all the mobs and deals damage to your group. That is extremely important that it gets interrupted. The other one is Rune of Healing. That's not a big deal. It just puts a Rune of Healing on the ground, and you can move the mobs out of it, and it's not a big deal. So again, the focus order is Mystics, then the Thunder Callers, Rune Carvers, and the Mystics. The Champions. You want to make sure everything gets interrupted if you can. You want to have a stun order. Pre-pot this. It's a really good idea. If you, for some reason, didn't lust on Heimdall, lust on this. Next is the hallway. There's a sentinel that passes through it. If you can, you want to pull that first. If you can't, just pull the pack in the middle, which is what we are going to do next. Alright, so we're going to pull this pack in the middle, and because we haven't killed that Pather yet, we're going to pull him all the way back here. This group has a new mob, the Marksman. She does Snapshot, targets a random player, deals some damage, and then also does Penetrating Shot, which is damage in a line right in front of her, which is what she's doing right now. Get a stun order on these guys. Make sure you're interrupting the Thunder Caller in this case, and it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Next up, we're going to get these 2 Sentinels at that door because that Sentinel we still haven't grabbed yet, and we're going to pull them back because we haven't grabbed that Sentinel yet. These guys have a lot of health and they do a lot of damage, but most of their damage is completely avoidable. Just get out of that circle around them and don't stand in the lightning lines that gets targeted on a player. They also get a shield. If you have a Shaman or a Mage, they can spell steal that or purge that off, so that can be extremely helpful to you. Keep in mind that it is extremely important you do not pull these mobs with any other ones because it makes them immune to interrupts and silences and stuns and everything. Alright, we're going to start clearing trash on our way to Herja. We're going to do that one first. So we're just going to grab this pack and deal with it. We still haven't pulled that Sentinel that's pathing. We're just going to be extremely careful with these pulls because we don't want to do too many, and we don't want to pull that Sentinel with anything else. Alright, right now we're just killing trash because we want to kill time. It's very important you have lust for Herja if you lusted on Heimdall. Because if you lust on Heimdall and then Herja, you have 3 lusts for the dungeon, and that's extremely, extremely valuable. On our way to Herja here, I CC'd the Purifier at the top here, and I'm going to pull all 4 of these and pull them away. They do a cleave, reduce your armor, and reduce the healing you receive, so they can be pretty deadly. You want to make sure you're facing them away, though, because that cleave deals a stupid amount of damage and also applies the healing debuff. The reason why we're doing this Purifier separate is because he does Cleansing Flame. If that cast goes off, it's going to deal a lot of damage to basically the entire group because it targets a player and just does heavy magic damage and an AoE around them. So make sure that cast gets interrupted and this guy gets dealt with pretty quickly. Next, we're going to go on to this Trash Before Herja. But you can skip that pack of 3 in the middle there like you just did if you hug the left wall as much as possible. It's important to note that those 3 mobs there do not give percent, so there's no reason to kill them if you don't have to. And I'm just going to kill the 2 things of trash on either side, which mimic abilities of the boss. We're going to pull the boss here, and we're going to pull her to the electric side first. There are 2 sides. There's the light side and the electric side. On the electric side, she casts Arcing Bolt, which does damage in an AoE around a player, and Eye of the Storm, which does damage outside of a bubble, and inside the bubble you take less damage. The longer you are on one side, the more damage all of their abilities deal. For this run, we decided to just stick on the lightning side, but we should have switched to the holy side after that Eye of the Storm. She also does Shield of Light, make sure you're not in front of it unless you're the tank, and knocks back and deals heavy damage. On the holy side, she does 2 abilities. She does Expel Light, which targets a player and does damage around them. Make sure you get that out of the group. And the other one is Sanctify, which throws out little balls of light. You can completely avoid it. So here, because we've been on the electric side so long, this is dealing a lot of damage here to everybody, and especially the Arcing Bolt that's going to come right after is going to knock 2 people out right away. There you go. So we definitely should have switched after the first one, but we just chose to do it like this, and it worked out for us. Alright, now we're going to head over to Fenrir, and then the trash before him. Make sure you skip that Storm Dragon in front there. He has a lot of health and does a lot of damage, and it's just a waste of time to do it. Depending on your group, you're going to go through the middle here and either imprison it or polymorph it or something like we did there, or you can just kill it and move past it. It's not that big of a deal. On Fenrir here, he does a couple different abilities and has 2 different phases. The first one is Unnerving Howl, I think it's called. It interrupts spell casting. Make sure you're not casting when that goes off. Next, he does Claw Frenzy. It's just AoE melee around him that's split between everybody that's there. Ravenous Leap, you want to spread out for it. It does a little bit of physical damage and applies a dot. If you're stacked up, the dot's going to get applied on several people and several stacks of it, and it's just going to get kind of ridiculous. He transitions at 60%, so when he gets close to 60, you can pull him over to the bridge, so you're just closer. Like I did there. The trash before the second phase of Fenrir here, these wolves are extremely, extremely annoying, especially on Fortified Week, which is what we were here. They do a lot of damage. They do a jump attack that like lunges or pounces at someone, does a lot of damage, and they are buffed with other wolves that are nearby them, and that affects stacks. So like there, our Demon Hunter just got banged out because he got pounced on twice. A couple things you can do is if you keep moving, they can sometimes miss their pounce. Or just, if you need to, you can CC one of them, or just keep them stunned and burn them down. Alright, next is stage 2 of Fenrir. All of his abilities do increase damage, and he also has a couple new ones here. Unnerving Howl now summons ads. Group up these ads and burn them down. They don't have that much health, not that big of a deal. Ravenous Leap targets more players. Make sure it's spread out still. Claw Frenzy does more damage, that melee around him. And he also has Scent of Blood, which targets a random player and will start running towards them. The player affected does have increased movement speed, so you can try and just kite him away. But what we decided to do is just pop an immunity. I think he nether walked, and it was all fine. So if you have a bubble from a paladin or any form of immunity, you can just completely negate that mechanic. Another Claw Frenzy going out. Not that bad of a boss. Definitely the easiest boss in the entire place, besides Skovald here. It's important to note, before you go up to the bridge here, you need 86%. I'm sorry, 84 or 85%, because the kings up top give 16. We're going to start with King Randolph on the left side here. He does an ability called, it's some sort of cry. I forget what it's called. Make sure you interrupt it. If it doesn't get interrupted, it does heavy damage to the entire group. Unruly Yell. There you go. Next, we're going to go with King Bjorn here. He now has Unruly Yell from the first guy, and he also has Wicked Dagger. Wicked Dagger targets a random player and reduces the amount of healing they receive. Make sure you're still interrupting Unruly Yell and watching out for that dagger. The last two kings you have to fight together, and they have all 4 abilities. So the new abilities is Sever, which deals heavy physical damage to the tank and increases the amount of physical damage they receive, and also Call Ancestor. Call Ancestor summons an ad, and when that ad gets to the boss, it heals them. You can just keep that stunned, and it's not that big, or CC, not that big of a deal. Again, watch out for those Unruly Yells. Make sure those are getting interrupted, and then giving heavy healing to the people affected by the daggers. Next is probably the most important trick in this entire fight. In this entire dungeon, as soon as you get the shield, make sure everybody stacks in the middle or stacks somewhere, and then spin the shield around once or twice, and then face the shield towards your group. Make sure no one's behind you. And as soon as the shield drops off here, everybody has the shield buff, which means throughout the entire duration of the Skovald fight, no one is going to take any damage besides the person with the shield. So in this fight, I'm the only person that's going to take damage here. This completely trivializes the fight, especially on high keys and tyrannical weeks. He does do a couple abilities. He does Fellblaze Rush, targets a random player, and then once he gets there, he does AoE damage. There it is. And also Ragnarok. He still casts Ragnarok even though we have the shield, but you don't have to worry about putting it up because no one's going to take any damage besides the tank, so just keep the tank up. The only reason that anybody would take damage besides the tank is if they turn around, they'll take damage, or if the tank uses the shield, and then everybody will lose the debuff, or lose the buff, sorry. Alright, next we have Odin here. Odin does a couple abilities. He summons spears with just a yellow circle on the ground. Make sure you move out of it. As soon as the spears come up, they summon 3 yellow balls. The balls will do damage and stun if they hit you, so make sure you watch out for those. After he summons the first couple spears, he summons an ad, Stormforged Valajar. Make sure that gets stunned, interrupted, killed, whatever you need to do. He'll do Chaotic Tempest here. You need to get out of that circle while keeping that ad interrupted. If the ad's cast does go off, it's going to deal a stupid amount of damage to the group, and it's going to snowball out of control because the cast gets faster and faster and faster. More spears are coming up. After he does the third set of spears here, he shatters them, which destroys the spears, and then summons 5 orbs from all of them. After that, he does the rune. Make sure you go to your rune. You'll get full health, and you'll get a buff. Now is when you pop all your cooldowns and burn the boss as much as you can. The boss needs to get to 80% health in order to kill it. And after he does the runes, it's business as usual. He summons spears. After 2 spears, he'll do an ad. You have to interrupt that ad. As soon as he summons the ad, he'll do Chaotic Tempest, and you have to get out. Alright, so those were the spears. Here comes the ad. And here's Chaotic Tempest. It's an extremely telegraphed fight. He does the exact same order every single time. Ad needs to get stunned, and we need to get out. And that's it. That's Halls of Valor for you. It's probably the easiest key overall. The bosses are extremely easy if you handle it correctly. With the Skovald shield trick, it completely negates an entire fight, basically. Uh, Most of the trash can get stunned, so not a big deal there. And you also have 45 minutes to complete it. Sweetest 2 chests at that plus 15, and it was an extremely sloppy run. So overall, I love this dungeon. I think it's really fun, and I hope this helped you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.